All right, so here we go. I'm sitting down with Trish Stratus, and thank you for meeting with me.
Thank you.
Great. I actually want to go all the way back to before you started your career. You were doing biology?
Yes.
I read. That's true.
Yeah, it is a fact, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to hear about your research.
Yeah, was it a little bit of fate with this? There was a strike?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, completely. It's so funny that you said that. I truly believe that like everything happens for a reason, and that's what happened. I was steadfast. I was doing all the volunteer work to get ready to become a doctor. I was pre-med. So I was doing the volunteer work. Everything I was doing was gearing towards becoming a doctor, whatever I needed to do, my studies, etc. And then all of a sudden, the school went on strike, and I was like, "Oh my God, I have a plan. What's going to happen?" And I was very, sort of just waiting. I didn't trust in the universe at the time because I didn't know. I thought, "How could you do this to me, universe?" And then I took a job at a gym. I thought I would just kill some time until school came back in session, and then I got approached during that time to do my very first gig, which was with the fitness industry. And Bob Kennedy from Oxygen magazine, he basically was creating, I don't know, he kind of like carved out this little niche of like fitness models, right? It wasn't really, now people know fitness models, but back in the day, there was like women bodybuilder, and that's kind of what how the women, I guess, were represented in the industry. Mm-hmm. So he was starting this new thing, fitness models, and basically he approached me to do some stuff with them, and I hadn't really trained with weights or anything, right? I just done all like sports specific training. And I had my first meeting with them, and he said, "Well,
So wait, how did he approach you?
I was working at a gym. No, I was working at a gym, and the first guy that approached me. He was doing a clothing line with Oxygen magazine. And he's like, "Oh, we're looking for fitness models," and I was like, "What's a fitness model?" I was kind of intrigued by it. And he's like, "Well, it's this new kind of emerging industry, whereas these girls are basically fit and healthy and athletic, but they're feminine and they're beautiful and they're just strong, powerful women." I'm like, "I can dig that." And so it was kind of cool to see that they're going to be represented. So that's how I met Robert Kennedy through this gentleman. So I met him, and he says, "Let me see some pictures. Have you done some modeling?" I was like, "No, but this is me and my mom," and like I didn't really have anything, because I didn't have time for it. In my head, it was like, I'm not going to pursue something that has nothing to do with my future, almost, So he said, "Okay, well, listen, I'm interested in your look. Let's do a test shoot." Did my first, test shoot with them, and liked what he saw. And he says, "I would like to take you on a professional shoot, but you need to, train and do the training that's involved as far as like the physique." And so I started training. I ate, slept, and trained for about 4 to 6 months with a personal trainer, and totally changed my body. Was really enjoying the way I could see. Like, it was kind of neat because I studied biology, kinesiology, right? So here I was kind of putting all the theory that I'd been learning to motion. So it was kind of neat. And watched my body transform, and basically went on my first photo shoot, and he contracted me on the spot. And my first photo shoot ever ended up being my first cover. So that's how I became a fitness model.
So what was the key to that transformation then? You said you went from where you were to something that was probably what many women would envy.
Well, you mean physique-wise or just in general? Oh, it would definitely be the approach to eating. Like, that's number one. I had always been athletic my whole life, so I had some muscle foundation to work with. I had the quads that I got from soccer, things like that. But it wasn't until I started really, the science of eating is really makes a huge difference. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, is that connection. Like, I work out all the time, but it's really about what you're eating and what you're putting, how you're fueling your body, and then, you are what you eat, definitely.
Okay. Any tips? Quick tips, how to...
Yeah, it's a real simple approach. Basically, give yourself time to... the first time I really said, okay, let me kind of analyze what's going on with my body if I really sort of pay attention to my diet. And that was, give myself 30 days. So always give yourself some time for your body to get rid of the old, get in with the new. And simple, whole foods. And that's really all I stick with. So I really, when I'm like on, because there's times where I'm off, it's... Christmas time, or my in-laws are Italian, so that doesn't help the situation. But I basically just eat. If I take something and I say, "Is this in its real form?" Yeah, then I know it's good, and there's no processed, no packaging food or anything. So that's what it is. And I'm telling you, obviously there's a list that you stick with, but there's literally a list of foods that I stick with, and it's in my journal, which I'll tell you more about later.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so that's it. So that's what it is, sticking with pure, simple, whole foods.
Great. And so you went through the transformation, you got on the cover, and then...
yeah, and then suddenly I found myself with a career. The moment I got on the cover, suddenly there was other fitness companies that were interested in me. There was various magazines were contacting me, and suddenly I was fitness modeling, this new industry, and thankfully there was industry to support it. So it was funny. People actually called the handful of us, like the girls who were doing it at the time, we were like the Naomi Campbell, like the supermodels of the, like, so there was a handful of us doing it. So it's kind of neat because it was like only a few of us out there. And then I just suddenly had a career, and it was funny because school came back in session at this time. So at this point, I've been on the cover, started this little buzz, was contracted by Oxygen magazine, and then I had to kind of go back to school. So I'm an all or nothing person. So I was like, I couldn't do kind of so at both. I had to focus on it. So I was 22 at the time. And I decided, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really focus on it. And I did. And I was suddenly a full-time fitness model. And that was for those first couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's how I got on off the record at that point because of that success of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. And then, so at that point, did you realize you were gaining some celebrity status, or was it really just in the WWE days that...
No, surprisingly, that was, I guess, there was times where I was on a couple magazines at one time on the newsstand, and like the cool thing was I was living in Toronto. Oxygen magazine is actually out of Toronto, and I'd go down to Florida, and I'd be on the newsstand there. So it was kind of neat. I'd get a little notoriety, and then a few local television shows were like off the record. That was a big turning point. Was off the record, actually, my TSN turning point, if you will. But they basically had me on because, number one, they thought it was kind of cool that I'm on the cover of Fitness magazine. But number two, I was a chick who knew sports. That's a neat novelty, apparently. And the third thing was that I like wrestling, love wrestling.
So is that always, or?
Always.
Always.
Because I'm like a constant tomboy. I mean, I am the boy that my parents never had, pretty much. And so I was their go-to because they're like, oh, cool, a chick that knows wrestling, that's good. So I was their go-to guest. Whenever they had wrestling or wrestling-related news or something that we talk about, they'd have me on. So that was that was kind of how I ended up on that show. And do you know that connection of what happened after that show?
Vaguely.
Okay.
I'd love for you to describe it to us.
So basically, I'm on this show. So Raw is it used to be on at like 2 a.m. or something like that. So TSN was announcing that it was going to be on at prime time. So they were doing this. They had a big press conference in front of the Sky Dome, and that night it was going to be the show was actually at the Sky Dome. So I was part of the panel of guests, right? So I'm on the show. I've had some notoriety as a fitness model, and I'm on the panel. Then that night I go to the show, and fans keep coming up to me, and they're like, "Oh my God, when are you starting?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not starting." But you were on the show today. "Oh no, I'm not. I wish. Oh my God, that'd be so crazy." And then this internet rumor starts. It says Trish Stratus has been spotted by Vince McMahon, and she'll be starting soon. Totally false.
Wow.
So it's one of these things. Everything happens for a reason. So I don't know. I guess it ended up manifesting, and here I am today.
So fate has really taken your hand and led you through your career.
Yeah. Well, it's like fate's definitely been something that's always been there. I also believe my motto in life is preparedness meets opportunity, right? So and Robert Kennedy taught me that from Oxygen, because he said, I gave you this opportunity, which goes, I've given many girls, like, hey, I'm going to give you a professional photo shoot. And basically I ate, slept, and breathed and got ready for this shoot. And so I prepared and took advantage and maximized that opportunity, right? So it's just like with the wrestling thing. So what happened is, like, I heard all these rumors and all these things, and I thought, okay, well, I hosted a wrestling radio show, and so I was kind of in the industry. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go train, because if they happen to call, I want to prepare the best possible package, right? So I prepared myself in case the opportunity presented itself. And when it did, there was enough buzz online. They heard about me, and Jim Ross, who was the head of talent relations at the time, contacted me, flew me to Connecticut. So here I am, if you can imagine, I'm like, that's The Rock. That's like, I'm in WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. And he sat down with me, and he said, the role of the women's a little bit changed. You got to be physical, though. And I said, oh, I've been training for 6 months, and I found a gym in Toronto that I trained at. And he's like, all right. And I went home with the contract offer. So, lucky me, but yes, prepared for the opportunity. And yeah.
Absolutely. I love that motto. It's one that I like to stick by myself.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, when it comes to WWE, WWF, there was Hulk Hogan, and then there was the female wrestlers. That was all I watched. It's the only thing that got me up to watch it. So what was it like when you transitioned from, doing what you do in the radio and the covers, to now all of a sudden on the international stage in front of millions of viewers, literally, making this amazing character?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Crazy. It was, it was like a whirlwind, because literally they're like, oh, you signed? Okay, as soon as I got my visa, bam, I was on the road, and that was like my life, my soul. Here you go, WWE. But in a good way, it was like, it was an all or nothing thing, which that's what I do anyway, so it's fine. But, you know, like literally you're right thrown in. And at the time, there was only a few women. There wasn't too many women. So we, you know, me and another, you know, I think, you know, Amy, Lita, right? So she and I were like kind of the girls at the time, which was neat. And yeah, we just basically got right on the road, developed our characters, and wrestling was high at that point. Like it was like on Entertainment Weekly, and it was everywhere at that point. So really got in a really good point where people were excited about it, and it was interesting, it was edgy at the time, right? So yeah, it's just like crazy. I mean, literally I was up to 300 days a year traveling and just doing media and just constantly being on. So it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
And as a Calgary native myself, I have to ask, the Hart family?
Yes.
Get to know them well?
Oh yeah, very well. Natty and I speak all the time. I'm really like behind her. I think she's going to do some amazing things. I think she's, I mean, I don't know if you watch. Do you watch currently? Okay. She's right on the cusp of like doing something really huge, and I'm really proud of her. I mean, it is her legacy to do what she's doing, right? And Brett and I are very close as well. So we keep in touch, and I don't know if you saw my final match, my Unforgiven match.
Yep.
When I retired, it was my tribute to the Hart family, basically, to do that, his finishing move. So, yeah, so it's kind of fun.
Right. Now, okay.
Yeah, a sharpshooter? Yeah, because a lot of people, especially to do it in Canada, and it was before Vince and Brett had really made up and kissed and made up. So it was kind of like a shout out to them. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So, and then you retire from WWE, and you move on, and you get into yoga. And that was inspired by an injury?
Yeah.
You'd always done yoga?
Well, not really. Actually, I would have never, ever thought I would do yoga because to me, working out meant sweating, lifting weights, go, cardio. And I actually, the thought of yoga was like, gosh, I'm going to do my to-do list in my head. I can't stop for a minute. But a friend of mine who had actually broken her neck, it was Lita, she had broken her neck, and hot yoga was kind of new at the time. It was about 6 years ago. And it was like, there's this thing called hot yoga. She goes, it's amazing. Like, I'm injured right now. It's the only thing that allows me to move. So I was like, okay. So I got diagnosed with a herniated disc. They wrote me up the storyline, sent me home, and said, well, you can have surgery. And I said, well, is there any other options? And they basically said, well, we can do some physiotherapy, see what happens. So about maybe 2 months into the physiotherapy, really wasn't helping. Was a little concerned because I wasn't sure if I could go back to even do what I was doing before because couldn't sit more than 30 minutes at a time. So, and then so I thought, okay, let me try this hot yoga. And I was literally coming from a physiotherapy session. I was frustrated. I was like, and they're calling me, you want to come back? I'm like, I can't even sit properly, you know? So when it went to my first class, and like right away, my body went, yep, this is good. Yeah, and I just had the mobility that I hadn't had in months, and I stuck with it. And I pretty much got up every day and did hot yoga for like 2.5 months straight and reversed the damage. So I went back, and yeah, and so it's funny because at that point too, although I was healed, I went back, I wrestled. At first, as soon as I went back, I thought, well, I can't wait to be done with this yoga because it's just going to rehab my back and then I'll go back into my other ways. And then it wasn't until I returned back on the road, so still doing this crazy 300 days schedule, but things felt a little more manageable. Like, whereas before I'd kind of hit these flights going, oh, did I bring that? What if I miss my flight? Oh my God. And then now it was like, if I miss my flight, I'll get another one. Or if I didn't pack it, I'll just get something else. So I just kind of felt like I was approaching things differently. And I was like, oh, that's neat. Where did that come from? Just a different disposition, you know what I mean? And so I kind of just stuck with it. Then I found when I was wrestling, my recovery was just so much better. I mean, before that, it would take me 30 minutes just to get out of bed and feel normal and stand upright. So, and I was just, you get programmed to think, oh, that's normal. It's okay. It's because I wrestle. You know what I mean? Or I had headaches all the time. Oh, it's because I wrestle. So all that went away, and I couldn't deny how great I felt. And doing the same rigorous thing that I was doing before, it just was like a lot easier. Like I took the hits a lot better and things like that. So I kind of just stuck with it. And then it was neat because I approached being on the road, where I used to approach being on the road was like, I'm going to be away from, home, and I'm going to, it's such a drag, poor me. And then I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm going to Memphis. I should go to Graceland. And you know what I mean? So I kind of saw things differently. And I think that allowed me to see things with a different perspective. And so then I turned yoga into, like, near the end of my career, it was this little thing where I actually planned my tours around yoga studios. So we go on the road for like 4 days a week, right? I'd find the yoga studio and then book it around the arena and around my hotel and do this little thing. So I'd stop in and then thought of like being anywhere in not only North America, but the world, and stopping into this little studio and being like with all these like-minded people and being kind of like, we might not speak the same language, but we do, and we're moving together, and it's just like a kind of a cool thing, right? Yeah. And I thought to myself, well, this would be cool. I'd open a studio like this maybe when I was 40, something like that. And then I retired in 2006, stuck with it, loved it, like totally delved myself into it. I got certified, I pursued the Ashtanga certification, did a bunch of yoga retreats, just really got into it. And then I kind of thought, well, it's like, by just doing a practice every day, I feel this great and I'm able to perform at this level. And I thought I want to share this with people, and so this whole thought of like doing it when I'm 40, it's like, do it now, so I did. I opened up the yoga studio, and that was kind of how I transitioned into that, and opened up Stratosphere 2008, so.
Yeah, great. So, and one of the things that it promotes is being eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Was it always eco-friendly? Did it start out that way, or
No, yeah.
What makes it eco-friendly?
Oh, everything from the choice of the materials to like the paint to the bamboo floor to the grass walls. Our use or rather not use of paper, non-use is that word? Non-use of paper. It was kind of cool because it was 3 years ago, and the idea of being eco-friendly when you build, it seemed like, well, it's going to be more money, and like, oh, there's only like a few color options, but it's surprising, and it was a neat challenge to go, you know what? You have the choice from the very beginning, from the ground up, to actually, everything you choose can be eco-friendly. So you have that power of that choice, right? And then I found it's very, very easy to have, like, people think it's a tougher thing, or like you're going to be limited to go that way, but you're not at all. And it kind of opened my eyes to the world that it is advancing, and there's tons of options, and just as many as being non-eco-friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. And so in the studio, it's the largest in Canada, or one?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, as far as I know.
Of course.
If I don't know, is this a yoga studio?
The largest organized one, anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's three different studios within the complex. So not
great.
just one giant, huge studio.
And then, so the clients. You see on TV the very typical kind of yoga clients that you're going to get. Do you find that's representative, or are you getting everybody, all types?
It's really cool. I'm getting all types. When we first opened, absolutely, it was that representative Lululemon wearing woman, me, basically me, a lot of me's around, and we, I was kind of like, I want to get more guys in here. Like, what?
Maybe that's what attracted all the guys to the studio.
Was all of the women, probably a lot of me's. Come here. There's a plethora of Trishas. But my first approach, well, it started off me saying to my construction crew, my husband did the construction there, so it was a running joke. I was like, when this studio's done, you guys got to get in there. And they're like, yeah, right. And I was like, no. They're like, I don't want to look like an idiot in front of the girls. And I'm like, really? So that was like what the guys were saying, and like back in that day, 3 years ago, there wasn't that many guys doing it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of a new emerging thing. So I created a yoga for guys who like fries class, because I wanted people. Ooh, I'll pause. Yes.
Let it
And I wanted a yoga for guys who, because I thought you don't have to be this bendy, athletic guy that you might think that guy does yoga. You know what I mean? Just anybody can do it, and any guy can do it. So I did an all guys class to start. So the guys came in and got comfortable.
Was that successful? Like, did you get a lot of guys in the first round?
We did it. We launched it on Father's Day. And so it was very successful, and this group just grew. Like, they just stayed together, they kept coming, and then finally the teacher said, all right guys, it's time to get out of the nest, like, go in the regular classes, you don't need to be in this class. And so they did, they integrated into the other classes, and they were like, oh, there's chicks in here, this is much better.
Now it's all of a sudden
this is better, yeah. But no, and then I think I did a lot of stuff. I had the Toronto Argonauts in, I had the Toronto Maple Leafs in, I created a yoga for golfers. So I really just tried to carve out that niche a little bit, and just, I think, and obviously with mainstream, it became a little bit more acceptable. I thought a lot of athletes are saying that they do yoga as well as a compliment. So just kind of, I guess it's the view of yoga has changed as well, and I've seen that that shift happen, and it's been kind of cool. So. And
actually, on that note, you talk about a lot of professional athletes doing it. I think there's a common misperception that you have to already be fit or somewhat fit to do yoga. Is that true? Can you just be, 300-pound burger eating dude and get right into?
You definitely can. The thing that it's so versatile. Yoga is just completely versatile, and that's what I love about it, because you really you can get a pose, but it's your own extension of that pose. And so no matter what, every class builds on the last class, so you're always going to progress in a yoga class. And it really is. It's one of those things where it's your own version of that pose. As long as you're doing a semblance of it, you'll get there. I mean, I'll never forget, my first yoga class, it was like, here I am in my mind, I'm a professional athlete, I'm a wrestler, and that guy is 60 back there and he can do the pose, and I better be able to do it too. So I've seen all different ages, all different body styles and types, and everyone do it. So it's all about your own version of the practice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I tweeted to you earlier, I'm not flexible.
Okay.
And I'm not patient.
Okay.
And I really don't like just posing. I like things to move very quickly when I do any
Good
kind of sport.
segue.
Perfect. Right into that. So that's my question, right? I have friends who've converted to yoga, both male and female, overweight, underweight, perfectly fit. They've tried to convince me. I've tried a couple. I did the Biggest Loser Bob Fit yoga.
Okay.
and it drove me nuts.
Yeah?
I just didn't have the patience to see it through. So how would I transition into yoga?
Well, I think you ran into the same thing I did as a type A personality. You need a little bit more. I think, like I said, and like I keep saying, I'm all or nothing. So it took me to be all working out and cardio and weights to go, okay, leave that. Now I'm going to be all yoga. And I was all yoga. And then I realized, actually, it needs to be a little bit of both. And this happened because, when I said I was all yoga, I went certified. I was like, that's all I did, right? I lived in my studio and I was just doing yoga all day long. And then it wasn't, I got asked to be in a movie, and have you heard about my movie? I have a movie coming out.
No, there's a movie coming out.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay, it's called Bounty Hunters. Yes, I'm very excited about it. It's my first movie, right? So it's an action flick, which is apropos. And I play Jules Taylor, and she's a bounty hunter. So I read this script, and basically the script, the director, it's funny, he needed a strong female lead, so he picked Trish Stratus in his mind. So, he wrote the script, never had any intention of asking me or seeing if I could play it, but basically wrote the script, great little movie, great script, and it landed on my desk, and I read it, and I was like, I'd love to do this, so I decided to do it. It was filming in Toronto, and I did my own stunts, and that was a selling point for me. I was like, my own stunts, I got to learn a new fighting.
You did your own stunts?
Of course I did.
So how was that?
It was awesome.
Did that kind of feel like you were getting right back into the ring, really getting that athleticism
It's the producer in me, like even from back in the day, the way I produce, if you will, my segments for wrestling, I did the same thing. And even like when I retired, I did a travel show and I produced that. That was my first I like to produce, I like to create. So the movie, like for me, it was like I knew the scene, I had my characters, I had this new fighting art that I learned, so it was really cool, and I loved that. That was really, really awesome for me. And also, it wasn't a big stretch. I read the script, I'm like, okay, that's me. Yep, I got this. So that was a lot of fun. I filmed that last year, and it just got acquired by Anchor Bay Canada, actually. So yeah, and it got we were seen at Action Fest Film Festival in April, really well received, and it's one of these things people are like, this is like, I think the fight scenes are going to be like, get a nice little following, because they're really, they are really hard hitting. And the other girl that I work with, my nemesis, she's a martial artist, and so the two of us bringing what we bring as far as being real fighters, it's really like, I'll send you a copy as soon as I get it.
And that's released already, or
no, it's going to be released. So Anchor Bay just acquired it literally like 2 weeks ago.
Amazing.
So it's been really like a whirlwind of stuff happening. But so they acquired that. Anyway, so this is my other TSM turning point. I got approached to do this movie, Bounty Hunter, and I pretty much have a yoga body, not a bounty hunter body. So I was like, all right, I need to buff out a little bit. I got to get my shoulders back, my biceps defined again. And so I started doing some spot training. I was also training for this role, so I was doing Krav Maga, which is, are you familiar with that? It's the Israeli special ops fighting that they do over there, right?
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about
it.
It's
pretty intense.
Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's just close hand-to-hand combat, and it's pretty brutal actually. Like it's pretty aggressive, and it's very intense. So I was doing this training at the dojo. So this is like me being away from wrestling for this long, right? Like I've made some appearances here and there, but not like my body wasn't used to taking that beating like constantly.
Yeah.
And I was doing the yoga, doing that, and then trying to do the strength training as well. And it was just like, it was too much. It was just, my body was like, no, don't do that. So I was kind of doing I needed the yoga, definitely I needed that to disconnect, and that like calmness that it brings me, and plus the flexibility, and then the recovery it gave me for the training. But I needed to do the weight training as well. So I started doing some poses, and I was like, well, if I'm in this pose and I do this strength training movement, I thought, okay, this can work. And then suddenly I found myself with this little system, right? And it became like I'd go to my studio and people start going like, bless you.
Excuse me, sorry.
I went to the studio and people are like, what are you doing? Your arms look amazing. And I was like, oh, thanks, And so then I didn't really figure that I was really onto this system, but I really was. It was kind of like, I think people like you, a lot of people like want more out of the yoga practice. They can't deny that like you feel amazing after your practice. You love the flexibility, and of course everyone wants that, and that's going to help you with other things. But nice toned, fit body, that's what people want as well. And unfortunately, yoga doesn't provide that, just yoga. So, is it like dry in here or something? No, I'm fine. It was funny. You were coughing too. Sorry, I digress. So then I basically worked it out. I went back to my fitness days, and I thought about how we did split bodies, split body routines, and I drew from that. I thought, okay, we got legs. So I created this flow that's like a yoga flow concentrating only on legs for 10 minutes. Then a yoga flow concentrating only on arms. So basically you're doing these resistance training movements you do in the gym while you're flowing, and you get your all-in-one workout. And I think you'll love it because athletes really, really love it, and their muscles really respond to it like quickly. So,
and that would appeal to me more. So is that what's included in this video?
This is what this is. So this will be your,
And the title is?
Stratus for Yoga.
Perfect.
Right? And that's
and if
basically...
somebody wants a copy,
they can go to trishstratus.com, or it's also available right now. This is why I'm in town, actually. Is London Drugs is our first retailer to launch it. And it'll be London Drugs, Home Outfitters, Sport Check, and Sears. Yeah, and GNC as well.
And I do want to talk about that because you've teamed up with Homedics to launch some products. Video we got out at London Drugs, but they're also going to be carrying yoga mats, different kind of yoga products.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah,
That's your newest venture, is it?
Well, it's kind of like fate, right? So all of a sudden, I was creating this workout. I was like, okay, and I was doing this at my studios, these proprietary programs that I was like my yoga for golfers is Stratus for golf, and this is Stratus for yoga. So I was like unique to what I've come up with, based on what my system is. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but like women used to have these beanbag things that we would have that were with Velcro, and we would put them on our wrists and our legs back in the day. And so just to get some extra resistance. So I'm in my mom's basement, and I'm like, oh my God, if I use these while I do yoga, I could do these movements. And that's how I kind of started developing it, was using a little bit of weight with it. Because at first I thought I could hold weights while I was doing yoga, but then you're doing the downward dog, and I'd put it down, and I was like, I should create something. So I decided to create this glove, which is how everything started. So basically, Homedics is the company that I work with to produce the Fit Glove. And the Fit Glove, I was like, okay, I'm going to show you the Fit Glove right here. Ready? Fit Glove, basically, we're trying it on right now.
Yeah, I'm going to try on this Fit Glove, which I'm very curious about.
Okay, so what this is, so I modernized the beanbag Velcro thingy. Basically, I thought, okay, when you're doing your downward dog, people slide on your mat. So you got the grip, so you can actually do a downward dog right here and you won't slip, so you don't even need a mat, right?
Right.
So basically that'll help you from sliding, and then you've got the one pound on each hand resistance. So now when you do now when you got this system, basically you're doing these resistance training movements, so you're doing the contracting with your muscles, and you've got the resistance.
Now, would you only wear this at yoga, or would you like jogging, things like that? Will
right away. Exactly, yeah. Well, that's how I got my husband to wear them. I said to him, he's like, I'm not wearing these yoga gloves. I'm like, they're not yoga gloves, they're running gloves.
They actually look cool.
Right?
They work, yeah.
They kind of do.
I'm kind of digging it, I feel like.
I think you should just walk around with them all. And it's funny, people like say the MMA style, like, there's so many uses. I mean, I've been using them for my yoga, I've been using them for my walking, my running, and my weight training, when you go from like 25 pounds and you want to get to 30, but that's a big jump, so now you've got 26 pounds. And it's got the grip as well, right?
It's 1 pound weight.
It's a 1 pound weight, yeah. So that's my little creation. That's how I hooked up with Homedics. We created that product. And then just in conversations, like I'd say, well, I mean, personally, when I do my yoga, I don't know, how come they make these mats and you're sliding all over it, and they're like, oh, let's find that perfect material. And I'm like, and these aren't even eco-friendly. Well, let's find that perfect material. So my mats are eco-friendly, the non-slip surface. So we just went out and sourced a bunch of product and basically came up with the line. So that's how Stratus for Living was born.
And it's really comfortable. So what's the material that's made of?
Neoprene.
Okay.
Yep.
So it breathes and allows you to feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, still on that note, there's the yoga mats. I noticed you were showing off some yoga mats on video today at London Drugs.
Oh, yeah.
What makes those different? Is there anything unique about the yoga mats?
Well, the fact that it's eco-friendly, and it's just that the surface is just really, it's durable surface, and it prevents you from sliding as well. So, and what you saw in that video was actually my kit. So I'm really excited about my kit, because I've always been about, like, people, like I said, when people say, oh, what do you do? How do you stay fit? Like, what are you doing to work out? It's like, well, it's not just that. It's actually also what I'm doing to eat. Like, it's like a whole package. It's a whole lifestyle, right? And so my kit, I thought if someone, and I've been getting people for years asking me, like, what do you do? And I've been sending people, like, little templates to, like, write down your food journal, things like that. So I thought, well, let me just, if someone's they want to get down this path of, like, healthy living, let me give them the best possible chance to start right. And so basically this kit is like, it's got the mat in there, it's got the DVD in there, and then it's got a nutrition guide. And I do say nutrition guide. Trish, get it?
Gotcha.
Puns.
I like it.
I like puns. So basically I took the template that I've been using for, like, honestly, for the last 10 years, I've written down all my food. And it sounds silly to say that, but it's like, it's one of these things where it's a habit I do. It's something that the trainer taught me, like, years ago, and said, just write everything down, because at the end of the day, you got to be accountable for your food. Right. And you do a little check, and you say, why, when I was doing so good, why aren't I, I had some bread there, and I had some pasta there, you know what I mean? So it gives you a good check and balance thing. So I took the template I've been using for 10 years, created a book, and basically that's your kit. So you have an instruction guide, your mat, and your DVD. You're off to the races.
Great.
And you'll win that race.
So that's at London Drugs across Canada.
London Drugs? Yeah, London Drugs across Canada, which I think it's only Western Canada, London Drugs.
Is it only in Western Canada?
Yep.
Good to know.
But we have home outfitters all across Canada, GNC, Sport Check, and then my website will have its trishstratus.com as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I know that I've kept you for a very long time. I've got a couple Twitter questions that I got to ask you.
Cool.
Back to the WWE days. We've got one girl wondering what it takes to become a diva and get into the ring.
I think I just told you. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, yeah, you have to have your university go on strike. No, I'm just kidding.
I like that. That's a good start.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's a very tough industry, and there's only a handful of women that are able to be accepted in that industry, and also that are able to handle that industry. So I say to everyone who's asked me, especially like women who want to get into this, you got to be tough, and you got to get your training. So that's one thing is so number one, I say get a backup plan. So I'll continue with your education, do what you got to do and pursue it. But at the same time, get your training, find a wrestling school and actually get your physical training, because then you'll see firsthand, you'll be able to be around that industry and see what it's like, because it's a lot of pressure. The world you're making it in a male dominated world. It's it's a tough world. And the physicality and the reality of being on the road is really tough. So kind of go ahead and find a school, get trained, see if that's what your body can endure, and be prepared for basically I just say pursue it. If that's what you're passionate about, know the industry, watch old wrestling, know the characters, understand the whole world, because it's a bit of a microcosm. So get to know the world and make it your passion and pursue it.
Great. So actually on that note, you said it takes a lot of your time. We've got a Twitter asking, how do you manage the relationship? So you've been with the same, it's your high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
Been with the same guy for a very long time.
Yeah.
How did you manage balancing both work and home? Because your work is quite a bit different than the average 9 to 5.
I would say, yeah.
A little bit.
I think just having that relationship, knowing when Ron and I kind of knew we'd go into this relationship, we both wanted to be our own separate entities first and foremost, and we both wanted to be able to pursue our passions, right? And I think it's just about finding that balance. And so we always make sure we spend time and we find that time. When I was on the road, I was traveling 4 days a week, but then those 3 days I was home was all about us, and we would do everything that we needed to do together, right? So, and since I've retired, a lot of our goals now, it's a partnership for us, right? So we pursue a lot of these together, and that's what I think what helps is that we're pursuing it together and we're supporting each other.
Great. That's lovely words of wisdom.
Yes.
And then a final question from Twitter. Are you opening Stratosphere in Vancouver? Ever?
Maybe. I'm planning on expanding the Stratosphere brand, whether it's through studios, products, videos, etc. Stand by, it'll be coming. I'll let you know.
Okay.
You'll be the second to know.
I'm glad to know. How many people did you promise that to today?
Nobody.
Okay.
Nobody asked me that question.
It's recorded.
Yeah, second to know.
Perfect.
Hubby's going to be first.
And then my final question, what can we expect from Trish Stratus over the next year and then the next 5 years?
Well, if I had to, at every point in my career, tell you what was coming next, I would have been probably wrong. So I just say destiny and the universe has some plans for me, and we'll let them unfold. But I definitely will continue to, I think my bottom line is I want to just continue to spread the word of health and fitness, health and wellness, and provide the tools that I can. I realized when I opened the studio, I realized I had the ability to have this platform for people to pursue better living. And so that's what I continue to do with the brand. And so the brand's allowed me to kind of expand that message on a greater scale.
Great.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
No, just go buy my stuff because it's so great. You will feel great and you will look great too.
It is. Well, I'm going to promise you I'm going to try it.
So this is being recorded, right?
This is
Dean, so now you must do Stratosphere Yoga. You got this. Check. Is this on? Check. And you're going to let me know if you're stratified.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna report on it. I'm gonna try it out. How long do I need to commit for? How long do I need to try to really give it a fair chance?
Give it 30 days, and then I think you should get the kit from London Drugs.
Okay.
Okay. And you should come out and see my signing tomorrow. Come and visit us.
Okay.
And you should get the kit, and you should write down, start doing the journal thing, and start getting in a routine for 30 days. And I'll be your nutrition coach.
Perfect.
And we'll tweet each other.
Perfect. I love it.
I'm
going to commit for 30 days.
Okay, let me know when you're starting.
Sometime.
After you get your cheat meal in this weekend. You start on Monday.
I love it. Pizza and beer.
Cheat meals are okay, by the way.
Okay.
They're okay.
I like that.
Once a week.
Because I do need to cheat.
Meals.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me.
No problem.
Really
thank you.
That.
It was fun.
Was a lovely conversation.
We're gonna go do yoga now. Testing. Is this thing on?
All right.